everyone. So, in today's episode, we are going to do a little introduction into homeopathy in general. If you're new to homeopathy, if you have some ideas about what it is but not quite certain, this is a good episode to listen to. About a year and a half ago, I recorded a webinar called Introduction to Homeopathy, and this episode is kind of a revamp of that webinar. So I have some slides for you. So if you want to watch this on video mode on Spotify or on YouTube with the slides, you can. But you can also just listen the way through. There's not that much extra information on the slides. So yeah, let's get started. So if you're watching this as a video, either on YouTube or on Spotify, you will see that the first slide is essentially just the title of this episode, What is Homeopathy and How it Works. So these are the questions that I'm going to attempt to answer during this episode. And I will try to answer these questions in a way that is the most practical and easily understandable for most people, even to those who are completely new to homeopathy. I could definitely get more philosophical. I could definitely talk more about science and the scientific explanation of homeopathy. I could also bring in some spiritual or even religious concepts that we can associate homeopathy with or can explain homeopathy through. But I don't want to. I want to keep this as simple as possible. So it's a good resource for anyone who is either completely new to homeopathy or are still somewhat new to it. How I normally explain homeopathy to people is that it's a holistic system of medicine, and one of many. There are many, many different systems of medicine in the world, and there have been even more that are not alive today anymore. Probably a really good couple of examples for systems of medicine that started thousands of years ago and are still practiced today are traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda in India. Those systems of medicine are also happen to be holistic, and they started thousands of years ago, are still practiced today, and just like conventional medicine, they are complete systems. Homeopathy is also a complete system, which means that it's not only conventional medicine that is covering both acute and chronic situations and tries to give an answer to any health need that we have as humans. It's also homeopathy. It's also TCM or traditional Chinese medicine. It's also Ayurveda. Those systems are all complete systems. What's really interesting about homeopathy is, unlike other holistic systems of medicine, it didn't start thousands and thousands of years ago, and also it didn't start in the East, it started in the West. Because it was developed by a German doctor called Samuel Hahnemann around the year 1800. So only about 200 plus years ago, and in Europe. And later it spread from Germany to France, to the UK, to the US. And today it's the second most widely used system of medicine. Its spread has been halted by conventional medicine at every turn, and it is still halted today, but is still the second most widely used after conventional medicine. And today there's over 200 million people using homeopathy on a regular basis. It's really, really important to understand that homeopathy always works with remedies. That is what the system is based on. It's based on you taking a remedy or some remedies in a certain dose for a certain number of times, in a certain number of repetition. that is what is designed, that is what is intended to eventually result in symptom relief. The consultation serves a purpose of finding the remedies, of helping your homeopath gather enough information, or if you home prescribing, then you collecting enough symptoms to be able to match your symptoms with the remedy, to be able to find the right remedy or right remedies in that moment. The homeopathic consultation, or you searching for remedies for yourself or for your child, can already be healing in some ways. First of all, for like when it comes to home prescribing, it can be really empowering, it can be really nurturing for yourself. And then when it comes to consultations for more chronic, for layered issues with a homeopath, they can feel really healing and supportive, because they are not only about finding a remedy, they are also providing you with a therapeutic experience. Talking to someone about your problems can already be really helpful. But homeopathy as a system wasn't designed to the consultation wasn't designed to do the heavy lifting. It's the remedies that are doing the heavy lifting when it comes to the healing process. Homeopathic remedies are very important to distinguish from other types of medicine, because people often confuse them. I think it's very important to say that homeopathy is not a form of herbal medicine. It's not just plant remedies that we use. We also use mineral remedies, animal remedies. I will go into this later. And homeopathic bottles can sometimes look similar to essential oil bottles. So then people think that it's essential oils. Sometimes people mistake them with supplements or maybe even with pharmaceuticals. And I think it's really important for people to understand that homeopathic remedies are basically their own category. So if you see an arnica cream in a store, I think it's important to look at, okay, is this a homeopathic or a herbal arnica cream? Because if you want the herbal one and accidentally buy the homeopathic one, or the other way around, you might be a little bit dissatisfied. They are not the same thing. Homeopathic remedies are completely non-toxic, and they are safe to use for all ages, including really small babies, newborns, and also cats, dogs, pets, farm animals as well. They have no known side effects, or at least not in the way that other types of medicine do. There is something called a homeopathic aggravation, which is kind of like an adverse reaction. If you take a remedy in too many repetitions, then you can experience some unpleasant symptoms. But the moment you stop repeating the remedy, those symptoms will subside 99% of the time. It's really rare that they linger on. Sometimes there's also something that we can call healing aggravation or healing crisis. So, if you use any type of holistic treatment, you might experience this. It's a temporary worsening of your symptoms before they get better, and it typically lasts just a few days. If it's anything longer than a few days, then it's good to go back to your practitioner. It's good to go back to your homeopath and let them know about it. So that could be a thing, but I wouldn't really call these side effects. I think they are a little bit different. As of today, we have over 8,000 different remedies, and we're constantly adding to this number. And they are available in pill, tablet, or liquid form. The liquid form is basically the original form of a homeopathic remedy. And then a lot of times how we distribute remedies is actually as a bottle of pills, a bottle of tablets instead of a bottle of liquid. I don't exactly know why. I think it's just that it might be easier for people to dose pills and tablets than liquids. they taste a bit more pleasant, I guess, if you don't like alcohol taste, because the liquids are, they very much taste like alcohol because they are preserved in alcohol. The remedy is preserved in alcohol form. So what we do is that either, like in homeopathic pharmacies or in your homeopath clinic, your homeopath will have the homeopathic remedy available in liquid form, and then they get an empty bottle of pills or tablets that are just sucrose or lactose tablets. I always use sucrose. I don't use lactose, but some homeopaths still do. And so what you do is that you just put a few drops inside this bottle, and then the pills or tablets are going to absorb the liquid. It's not so much the pill or the tablet that matters, it's the liquid that they are coated with, that they absorbed. So what is in these remedies? So as I mentioned, they are not just made from plants. They could also be made from mineral, fungal, bacterial, animal, or human origin. So a lot of the remedies are made from natural substances. But then we also have some remedies that are made from substances that are not natural. For example, from certain pollutants or from pharmaceuticals. And we mainly use these remedies for detox purposes. However harsh or toxic or poisonous a substance might be, once it goes through homeopathic preparation, it's completely safe to take for everyone. How do we find the right remedies for a person? So, as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, homeopathy is a holistic system of medicine. What does holistic mean? Holistic comes from the word whole. It means that as practitioners, we don't look at your problems, at your symptoms in isolation. We don't look at your different body parts, body systems, body processes in isolation, because we understand that these things are all connected. And we also understand that mental and physical health are also interconnected. So when you come to the clinic with a specific physical issue, we don't just look at that one issue. We also look at all your other potential issues, symptoms, concerns. And we don't just look at your physical health, we also look at your mental health. And when I say concerns and symptoms, it's not even just those things that we look at. We look at your entire presentation. So even at things that aren't necessarily problematic. So for example, your personality. Your personality is definitely taken into account. Your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings about certain events in your life, your feelings around, like how you feel about your symptoms. When did they start? Your whole medical history, from birth, from conception even. So we take everything into account, every little thing, because overall, what these things tell us is they show us a pattern of different ways of your body and psyche expressing itself, and that helps us find the best remedies for you. There are two fundamental ways of using homeopathy. One is using homeopathy for acute concerns, and the other is to use homeopathy for chronic problems. So when it comes to acute, they are generally things that started suddenly and are short-lived, so no longer than a few weeks old. For example, a cold or a flu, any type of injury like a broken bone, a cut, a bruise, a burn, could be something like food poisoning or sunstroke, an insect bite. But it could also be an emotional upset that is sudden and kind of doesn't have like a long-term layered history to it. For example, something shocking, bad news, anxiety around a specific life event. Those things can be acute, and those things can be treated at home by you. If you have a home remedy kit at home, they always come with a guidebook. Nowadays, there's also extra information online, lots of extra information. So you can use those resources, and it's completely possible that you will be able to help yourself or your child with the acute concerns. Sometimes people still turn to homeopath with acute concerns when they get stuck or when they don't have the right remedy for their unique problems in their home remedy kit. But it's definitely becoming more rare. As homeopathy, we used to see a lot more people for acute concerns. Nowadays, because of all the information available on the internet and because of the home remedy kits and guidebooks being widely available online, we mainly see people for consultations for chronic problems, because chronic problems are a lot more complicated. They took a long time to develop. They can be really layered. They can be really complex and confusing. And so when someone has a chronic problem, something that has either been ongoing for months, years, decades, even sometimes, or recurring either in a random way or in a more periodic way, cyclical way, then I really, really recommend them to see a homeopath. These are the type of issues that you might need very different remedies for, that are available in your home remedy kit. You might need someone with clinical experience. Or not just might, you really need someone with clinical experience, someone who knows what they are doing, have the right training, have the right amount of experience, and is also serving as a therapeutic container, someone who can help you through the ups and downs of different remedy reactions, someone who can read your symptoms as they come up from one follow-up to the next, someone who can work with your symptoms layer by layer, and someone who is an outside observer, someone who can, provide reassurance, and someone who can be there as a witness, someone who can provide you with listening and some emotional support. Let's talk a little bit about what I call the science of homeopathy. So it's not really overly scientific. It's more just looking at how the remedies work in the body. So they are essentially information signals. Their purpose is to start a communication with the body, to trigger a response from the body. They are not doing anything magical, they're not doing any healing on their own. They really serve as a reminder to your body that it doesn't need to keep repeating the same symptoms that it has been repeating for a certain number of hours, days, weeks, months, years, Having symptoms is completely natural. They become problematic when they are out of proportion. So they cause you a lot of distress. They can lead to further complications, or they are stuck in a cycle of repeat. They are blocked. They just don't want to move, don't want to go. These are the instances when people are looking for homeopathic remedies, because what homeopathic remedies do is that they help the body to move through this blockage, to move through this cycle of repeat, and come out on the other side faster and more efficiently than it would on its own. The main principle, the main underlying principle in homeopathic philosophy is like cures like. Like cures like is what homeopathy essentially got its name from. because homeopathy means similar pathology. So homeo is similar, pathy is pathology, similar pathology. A substance causing symptoms in a healthy person can treat similar symptoms in someone who is unwell. An example that I like to use is alum cepa. Alum cepa is basically the Latin name for red onion. It's the name that we use for a homeopathic remedy that is made from red onion. And we use alum cepa mainly to help with hay fever symptoms. If you think about chopping up an onion, there's going to be some streaming from the eyes and from your nose. There might be a little bit of itchiness and a general sense of just wanting to get away from the onion. It can be quite an overwhelming experience. And when you think of hay fever, people, but not all people, but most people are going to experience similar symptoms. So for most people, alum cepa can give some relief. It might not be the remedy that shifts their hay fever symptoms for good, but it helps in most hay fever cases. So that's how like cures like works. If you as a healthy person would take alum cepa, let's say in 12 doses, you might experience some streaming from your eyes, from your nose. But if someone already has these symptoms and take the alum cepa, it might initiate a healing response. It might cause them symptom relief. How we prepare homeopathic remedies is that we first of all make a mother tincture of the original substance. So let's say this is a plant. We make a tincture out of this plant, and then we put this tincture through a series of dilution and shaking. So we dilute and shake, dilute and shake, dilute and shake for a certain number of times. This is what we call potentization. And so how we make homeopathic remedies is essentially the process of potentization, which is a series of diluting and shaking. So we do this a certain number of times depending on what homeopathic potency we want to achieve. Common homeopathic potencies are 6x, 12x, 12C, 30C, 200C, 1M, 10M, LM. You might see these numbers on your homeopathic bottles if you already have homeopathic remedies at home. And these potencies are all results of different numbers of dilution and shaking. So through this dilution and shaking, homeopathic remedies become very, very subtle. Modern science, conventional medicine, has finally started recognizing over the last few decades that sometimes highly diluted remedies can be really helpful for medical concerns. They call this ultra-high dilutions. They are missing the shaking element of potentization, but they have the dilution element of potentization. So homeopathy is a little bit different. I would argue that it's one step further than modern medicine in that we don't only dilute our remedies, we also shake them. Homeopathic remedies can be really powerful, and the reason for their power actually lies in their subtlety. They are so subtle that their subtlety allows them to communicate with a subtle layer of our bodies, and that can initiate a healing response that is actually really, really powerful. It starts with something very subtle and it becomes something very much noticeable and material, very much tangible. But it all starts with that subtle layer. Their power lies in their subtlety. So they're very different from all other types of remedies because as I mentioned before, they're not like herbal medicine or like supplements. They don't act on the biochemical level. They act on a more subtle level. Probably the most similar modality to homeopathy is acupuncture. With the acupuncture needles, you can work on the meridian lines, and the meridian system is a lot more subtle than the other systems in the body. And when it comes to working with the meridian system, you use these tiny needles to initiate a response that will have a kind of trickle down effect on the rest of the body. And that's how homeopathic remedies work as well. When you take a remedy under your tongue, it's going to work on the subtle layer of your body, but then will have a trickle down effect on all the other layers as well. The main difference between homeopathy and acupuncture is that to receive acupuncture, you need an acupuncturist present. You need someone to place the needles in the right place. But with homeopathic remedies, once you have a prescription, you can put them in your pocket and you can carry them with you. So I think homeopathy is a bit more practical when it comes to that side of things. You might need less consultations with your homeopath than you would with your acupuncturist. What medical conditions can homeopathy help with? So, as I said before, homeopathy treats the whole person, not just their symptoms. So, it can basically be useful for any symptom under the sun, for any concern. Both for physical and for concerns in the mental and emotional realm. And it can help with both diagnosed and undiagnosed conditions. And it can also be used alongside other treatments. Homeopathy works on a more subtle layer, while other types of medicine usually work on a more biochemical level. So when you use both, they won't negatively interact, they won't negatively affect each other. Having said that, if someone is taking a lot of biochemical medicine, they can alter their overall presentation. So, for example, if someone is coming to my clinic with high blood pressure, but they are taking blood pressure medication, they might be a bit more difficult to prescribe to, because on top of their original high blood pressure symptoms, we will also have this layer of pharmaceuticals, where the pharmaceuticals might suppress some of their original symptoms or hide their original symptoms a bit, and they might also result in some side effects. So that can be a little bit of a complication, but it's not a massive issue. I still wouldn't ask them to come off their high blood pressure medication to make my job easier. I would never ask anyone to come off any medication. That is your doctor's responsibility and your responsibility to deal with the pharmaceutical side of things. I would just focus on the homeopathic side of things. So I mentioned remedy kits before. I think it's a really good idea to have one. If for nothing else, then for acute fevers and injuries, it's very easy to learn how to use them. Again, they all come with a little guidebook, and there's also extra information online. For example, the first one, if you're watching this as a video, you will see is the Helios 18 Remedies kit. Is the little blue kit. It has 18 basic remedies in it, and I actually written a more extended guidebook to this one that you can download from my website for free. It's called 18 Remedies, and it's under the learning resources and ebook section of my website. Then the second one that I listed here is the Ainsworth 36 Remedies. So both Helios and Ainsworth are based in the UK, but they both ship worldwide. And the 36 remedy kit is different from the 18 remedy kit in that it obviously has more remedies in it, so it's going to cover more acute situations, more of a variety of different acute situations. And if you want to be covered for 99% of acute situations, then I really recommend the Homeopathy at Home Remedy Kit. It's called Kit Number 1, and you can purchase this through homeopathy247.com. So that's homeopathy247.com. And that one has 50 different remedies in it. What's interesting about all these remedy kits is that they all all the remedies are in the same potency. They are in a 30C potency. So if you have one of these kits, if you take out one bottle, you will see that it has the remedy's name on it and the potency. So for example, going back to the red onion remedy, it would be LMCPA 30C. And 30C is a potency that we very often use in acute situations. So all you need to do is follow the advice in the guidebook. And if you feel like you want to learn a bit more, then you can also look online, because there's so much information nowadays about how to prescribe, how to self-prescribe or prescribe to your child for an acute situation at home with the remedy kit. And yeah, don't forget that I have this free guidebook of 18 remedies on my website. So let's talk about chronic consultations. How do they look like? So most homeopaths, including myself, do a really long initial consultation. This could be anything from 60 to 180 minutes, so from 1 to 3 hours. I myself tend to do 75, 90-minute consultations, and it's only really with my complex pediatric clients that I do sometimes a longer one. So what we do is that we might meet for 75 minutes initially, but then I ask the parent, actually, can we talk a little bit more? Maybe we can book another 20 minutes during the week sometime just to cover a bit more, because those cases can be really, really complex. So that's the initial consultation. It's really comprehensive. It covers everything under the sun that we have time for. What I really like to focus on during initial consultation is not only take down the symptoms that are present in the moment, that are affecting people the most in the moment, but also to draw up a timeline of the patient's health and life journey in general. So any major life events, any major health issues, any major interventions, medical interventions, I would like to put down on my timeline. And we can go from birth or even from conception up until today. So after the first consultation, obviously I give a prescription to the client, and they take this prescription away, they start taking their remedies, and then at some point they will come for a follow-up. So I typically ask clients to come for a follow-up 4 to 8 weeks later. It depends on the prescription. Sometimes I prescribe remedies that I would like to see where they take the client 4 weeks later. But sometimes I prescribe different remedies and I actually feel like we need to wait a bit longer. So then I ask them to book a session in 6 or 8 weeks' time. So it really depends on the prescription and on where in the treatment are we. And follow-ups are generally a lot shorter. They can be 30 to 60 minutes. I normally do 45 to 60-minute follow-ups. And they are very important because when you do an initial prescription, again, it's not meant to be a magic cure. It's not meant to take away your symptoms immediately. I think sometimes people have such success with acute prescribing that they think that that's also how chronic homeopathy works. But it's different. If you fall off your bicycle and take an arnica pill, your bruises might not even come out. You might feel an immediate relief. If you give a remedy to a teething baby, and that baby was really upset before, was crying all the time, couldn't sleep at all, was in a lot of pain, and you see the pain subsiding within minutes, you might think that homeopathy is something completely magical and is supposed to work super fast all the time. But chronic homeopathy doesn't work like that. Chronic issues took a long time to develop, so they are also going to take some time to subside. They are going to take some time, several different remedies to really get to the bottom of them and to shift them. This could be anything from 3 consultations to 10, It might take that long to really shift chronic symptoms if they are very complex and layered. And there are some clients who actually continue treatment after they have worked through most of their health issues because they want to go deeper. And I myself are one of them, because what I do is that I actually use homeopathic remedies that are prescribed by my homeopath in my psychotherapeutic process. So I'm meeting with a psychotherapist every 2 weeks, and we work through a lot of inherited ancestral themes in my psychotherapy. And then whenever I feel a bit stuck or just feel like I would benefit from a homeopathic prescription, then I take what I worked on with psychotherapy to my homeopath. They prescribe me a remedy or some remedies, and I can really feel the benefits from working with both modalities together. One supports the other. So it's not just when I have physical symptoms that I feel like I benefit from homeopathic prescriptions. It's sometimes only for the mental emotional realm that I seek a prescription. So you can basically go as deep as you want with homeopathy. You can just carry on forever. But I would say that most clients are most interested in shifting their physical concerns. And homeopathy is really great working with both realms. And it's actually when both realms are communicating the same patterns. When someone is, let's say, having chronic pain and depression, or when someone is having, I treat a lot of kids with neuroinflammatory conditions such as pens and pandas. Like it's very physical, but it's also affecting the mental emotional realm. It has a more physical, neurological, and immune basis to it, but it also affects the mental emotional realm. That's why they also call it a neuropsychiatric symptom. So it's in that intersection of the mental and the physical realm when you have symptoms from both realms, when homeopathic remedies can be really, really helpful, because then we have such massive amounts of information from the client. They're not only experiencing physical symptoms, they're not only experiencing mental, emotional symptoms, they're experiencing both. That gives us a lot of information. And the more information we have as homeopaths, the more likely that we will find the right remedies for you. So yeah, it's in that intersection that homeopathic prescribing shines the most. Okay, so this is the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to learn more, make sure you navigate to the Learning Resources section on my website. You will find 3 different ebooks there, a great number of blog posts, other podcast episodes. And if you want to subscribe on my newsletter, you can also do that through my website.